So, g'day, I'm back again. Got the engine here. Today I am gonna continue on with putting the engine back together, hopefully get it into the chassis of the ute and put as much as possible onto it. There's a couple of little parts I still need to go get, but should be able to get it back in and get it pretty much done. Won't start it today, probably start that next week. I'll start it next weekend. Yeah, still to go get oil and all the rest of that. So what I'm going to do first up is I'm going to time the fuel pump internals. So what that is going to involve is pulling out that bolt there. You have a special dial indicator that goes in there. Turn the engine over, check the measurement that you get, and I'll explain further exactly how to do that once I get into it. Get all the glow plugs in, get the injectors back in today, chuck an oil filter on it. What else? I think that'll be right to lift in. This is how to time a fuel pump on a Toyota 1HZ engine. I'm going to show you how that's done. So what you need is a dial indicator with this special adapter. You can pick them up on eBay. They're not too expensive. So to start off with, you unscrew there's a bolt that screws in where that is right there. Unscrew that, screw your dial indicator in. You may need to move this fuel pipe out of the way if you've got it on, to allow it to sit in there. Get that in there nice and tight. Then you need to have your crank at top dead center. It's lined up there. And what you need to do first is spin the crank in reverse until the dial indicator stops moving. Once that stops moving, I'll zero the dial indicator, and then we'll be able to make the adjustment and look at what measurement it needs to be. So I'll quickly get that spun around and then we'll go from there. Okay, so as I said, you need to spin the crank around in reverse until the dial indicator stops turning, and then you zero the dial indicator to that point. So I'll do that now. Okay, that is stopped there. So as you can see, the dial indicators come right around almost. So what I'll do is I'll zero that there at that position. Just there. Now the next step is to rotate the crank back around in forward rotation back to the timing mark, and then we'll look at the measurement that it reads on the dial indicator. Okay, so we'll just spin this back up to top dead center. We'll read what the dial indicator says. Alright, that's on top dead center. So there's our reading there that we've got from turning that back to top dead center, and that's out there. It should be between 0.03 and 0.09. So that's quite a ways out. So what you have to do to actually make that adjustment now is undo this nut here, and there's a nut down there as well, and the clamping bolt just there, and that allows you to rotate the fuel pump backwards or forwards, and that'll change your measurement. So I'll loosen those off now, and then we'll recheck that measurement. Okay, I've loosened those two nuts and that one bolt. Now what I'll do is I'll rotate this forward or back, and we'll watch that measurement as it changes. So if I bring it towards me, that's increasing the, decreasing it, sorry. So that's the wrong way, so we need to go the other way. Slowly coming up there. Keep coming around. So 0.05 is where I'm going to set it. That's pretty close to it there. So if you can roughly get it to about there, that's going to be pretty good. You've got it between 0.03 and 0.09. get it to that point, you'll be laughing. So what I'll do now is I'll tighten those bolts, nuts and bolt back up, and then I'll recheck the measurement by repeating the first steps by rotating the crank back around in reverse, then bringing it back up to top dead center. And then that should give me the same measurement, and then that'll be timed. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that first step again by turning the crank back until the dial indicator stops moving, and then I'll bring it around to top dead center. Stop moving there. Now I'll bring it around to top dead center. That's lined up there. So just rechecking that measurement. It's moved a tiny bit just because when I was tightening the nuts up, the pump moved a tiny bit, but still within spec, so that's pretty good right there. So now that I've done that, tighten those nuts and bolts up, make sure they're all tight. Remove your dial indicator and put your plug back in, remembering to replace the copper washer, and then that's right to go. So yeah, I'll continue on now. I can put all that timing cover on now, so I'll do that. And I'll put the glow plugs in, and I'm going to put the injectors in as well. Okay, ready to put the injectors in for the second time now. As you might remember from the first episode, I had to pull these injectors back out. Oh, it might have been the second episode actually. So I've chucked the washers into the head already. What I'm going to do is do the same thing I did last time. I'll put a bit of grease on this end of the injector to sit the crush washer. Now that goes a specific way. There's two sides to it, flat surface and there's a rounded surface on these washers. So the rounded surface will face up towards the injector and the flat surface will sit down in the head. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the end, stick the washer on there, and then screw them into the head and tension them up. The injector tensions, as you can see right there, is 65 newton meters, and then the fuel return rail, which I'll screw on after, is 30 newton meters for the nuts. So I'll do that now. Got all the injectors in and they're tensioned down. So the next step is I'm going to put the leak off pipe on. So I'll put these washers on and then I'll put the leak off pipe on, tension the nuts down, and then we'll continue on from there. Alright, got the inlet manifold on, injector pipes on, a bit of other extra gear. Pretty much ready to lift it in. Clutch and flywheel are on. So I'm going to lift that into the utes now and then bolt that all up to the gearbox and keep putting stuff onto it. Alright, so I've got the engine in, got a few bolts holding into the gearbox, just got to slap the engine mounts back onto the side of the block, had to take them off so we could get the engine down low enough to allow it in. Bit of screwing around, got the old come along there, the ratchet strap, we had to get the angles right on the engine. So what I'll do now is I'll slap those mounts on and bolt it back down. And I'll be able to take all the crane and everything off and probably call it a day. Yeah, so I got a fair bit done today. I would have liked to have maybe got a little bit more, but getting the engine in and just making sure everything was right and tensioned takes a lot of time. So I'll be back probably next weekend and hopefully I will be able to get started and blow a bit of smoke. Yeah, so see how we go anyway. So I'll see you in the next one. Catch up.